everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. As you would have seen just before this video went up, I put up the top 10 stars track guide that I did for this race. This race was done before I did that lap. It was my second race. I did 2 races, then I decided to push the qualifying a little bit harder, and I just wanted to upload this race just to give you guys some tactics for this race for the remaining few hours that it's on. Hopefully, I think it's on for another 6 or so hours, so give you guys some sort of advice and let you know what I think the best strategy is. So starting from pole position, you can see there, getting away, I've obviously got a McGann in this race, so my strategy had to be chosen, which way I was going to go. I could have followed him and raced him. I feel like I could have done that way, but I decided for the more consistent approach would be just to save some fuel. You see, I let him go down the right hand side, and as I'm about to turn in there, this is the advantage of using the Bugatti. I did notice that the driver came flying down the inside there. We'll pause that and we'll actually go back and have a little look at that on the replay. So as you can see there, as we're going into turn 1, I decided to let the Renault go and just have that inside, and look at P4 coming from really far back. He misses his braking massively, and I saw that coming through the in-car dash on the rear view mirror, so I went to turn in, then seen him and backed out of it and just let him go straight through. Luckily this car has that view, and this is why I wish they had had the rear view mirror that you get when you're racing from the bumper, the front bumper, to this view that I use, because without that there, then I would have had no idea that he was coming down that inside. And this is one thing that I would really like them to do, is add that rear view mirror. Gives me the warning, because this car's got that mirror there. I know some cars have the little one, but sometimes it's a very small view you get. As P1, the Renault manages to get himself back into P1 as he throws it up the inside. I really wasn't worried. I'm trying to be very disciplined in my approach to this race. I could have chased him down and hunted him down, and probably I think I would have had more pace, because the Veyron is a faster car here, obviously with the tyre wear and everything, and overall it's faster. But you can see I'm being very disciplined with my shifts, and you really do have to be disciplined for this race if you want to do this tactic. It's so tempting to just think I'm just going to go for it and accelerate and use all the power and fuel down the straights. But you can see I'm keeping the short shifting, not worrying about the car behind me either. This car's so wide, if you position it well, you can pretty much defend reasonably well. And for me at this stage, it's about keeping the Veyrons behind me as much as possible, because they're the other cars that are going to probably be able to do the strategy I'm on. You can see P1 pulling away a little bit down the straights, but I'm short shifting. I'm not worrying about him. I was pretty confident that with the McGann's lack of ability for the tyres, and the fuel savings not great on that car, as you can see there, again I could see him throw it down the inside. I decided just let him do that and then go back up on the inside and get myself back into P2. So a nice little bit of driving there as he throws it up the inside, and I get myself straight back into P2 and picking up the slipstream from P1 in that McGann. And again, he's going to go down that right hand side, so I let him do this. You see, for me, I don't mind if a car's in front of me, because I can use him to save fuel. So I go into fuel mixture 6, let him go past, and then in the braking zone, I know I'm going a bit slower, so I can brake later, just get it back down the inside, and I get that position back again. So it was quite nice. It was quite enjoyable, because I was just letting him go for the move and then getting him back straight away. And you can see they're putting in fuel mixture 1 and just short shifting as well, because I wasn't really worried if he was going to throw it up the inside, but I feel like P3 was thinking that he would save some fuel as well. Maybe he thought I was saving fuel for a pit stop. I'm not too sure what his plan was. Not many people were going for the plan I was on. I knew that P4 would be going on the same routine as me for not pitting, because the race before he also did that. But my first race was a bit scruffy. I still won the race, but I picked up some penalties and wasn't really driving very smooth. This was my second race. Everything was a bit smoother, and I kind of was picking up where to save the fuel a bit better. Obviously it's not the best way of doing it. I was just trying to optimize it every time I did it. I only did 2 races, so if I was to do more races, I'd probably optimize the fuel saving a little bit more. But just to let trying to show you where I'm changing the fuel mixture, where I'm shifting, and basically what I was doing was using 1 and 2 mixture as much as possible, and then on the back end of the straights, towards the end of the straights, putting the fuel mixture up a bit just to save a little bit more fuel, because in general, when you're in the top speed of the car, you don't lose too much acceleration, but you save the fuel if you go up in the mixture. So again, you can see behind me, I'm managing to hold off the driver in the Bugatti. P1's starting to pull away a bit. He's gaining a few tenths a lap, but I wasn't worried about that. You just got to remain as disciplined as you can if you're going to do this strategy. It is hard, because you do have the urge. Just even I was thinking, do I just go for the strategy where I follow him, and I know that if I did that, I could probably do the alternative strategy for this race would be to drive aggressively, but not too bad. You know, let it rev, but just short shift a tiny bit. Pit, have more fuel than other cars, and then don't change your tyres. That is the other way of doing it, which would be very similar, I think, overall in terms of race pace to the strategy I'm running, because you could pull away, you could probably build the lead up to maybe 4 or 5 seconds, and then it'd be so close, because I'm guessing the pit loss is probably about 12 to maybe 15 seconds or something like that with changing tyres. So without changing tyres, it's probably about 10-11 seconds. So it would be extremely close if you did that way of doing it, but I think this is a safer, more reliable way, because you can just drive so smooth. As you can see, again, the driver behind didn't want to go for the move. I felt like he was probably thinking, I'll save fuel behind this car, but he probably wasn't saving enough fuel, and he probably didn't take into account how much I was short shifting, because I was really short shifting the car. And if I'm driving a little bit defensive, because I don't want too many of them Veyrons. I don't want one getting past me that might be on the same strategy. If I can dictate the pace and save a lot more fuel than them, it works in my favour. So using fuel mixture 2 normally through the 2 Lesmo corners, because one mixture is not really going to gain you much of an advantage. And then also through this chicane up at the end of the straight, sometimes going through to mixture 2 or 3, depending on what mood I was in. You can see they're going through to mixture 3 and saving a bit more fuel. Also, fuel mixture 3 also helps give a slightly better feel to the car. You know, fuel mixture 2 and 3 gives you a bit better front end and just stops the rear sliding so much, and then also saves the tyres. All this is doing is helping save your tyres for later on in the race when you get through to lap 7 and 8. The Bugatti feels very nice on its tyres, I have to say. It's one of the better cars in terms of its tyre wear and fuel ability when you come to the end, because it's got 4-wheel drive. It will create a bit of understeer, but it still grips really well, and obviously with its straight line speed it has, it's a really powerful car at this track. And, you know, it's not the best idea to go with the Megane, because the Megane, although it's very fast, if you've got someone doing the fuel saving way and they get it right and they do it they execute it reasonably well, you're probably going to get beat. As you can see, I'm going to fuel mixture 6 there at the end of the straight. That's what I'm talking about. When you come into the end of the straight, you're not going to lose much time. As you can see, them cars, I could see them coming down that inside, but I could see that I had enough time to get into that corner, and they're battling away, and this is just helping me. You can see I've got that gap up over a second. While they're fighting behind me, it was kind of working in my favour doing this fuel saving, because they're battling with each other, they're fighting with each other. So one of them is definitely on the same strategy as me. I knew that at this stage. Not too sure on the other drivers. I wasn't really aware if P3 or 5 would be going for the same strategy as I am, or if they would be pitting or not. I had no idea. So I'm just trying to keep it reasonably smooth, save the fuel. You can see I'm doing a really good job on the fuel at this stage. I've got 4.7 laps of fuel left, and I'm coming up to a third of the way through lap 4. So it's pretty much on schedule for being perfect. You know, on my first run I found I had to do a lot more saving at the end of the race, but this race I'd started a lot better. I wasn't sure in my first race if the strategy would work, so I was kind of a bit more aggressive in the start of the race just in case it wouldn't work, and I could you know, just switch to that strategy of pitting. But I realised that you could get it to work about lap 2 or 3, and then I had to do a bit more saving in lap 7 and 8. But this race, just trying to keep it smooth right from the start, saving the fuel. And with doing the first race, I knew where I had to change, you know, gear, and, you know, just letting it rev pretty much as soon as the red bar comes up, changing into 7th gear. That's where you're going to save quite a bit of fuel, and then putting it into fuel mixture 2 early, that also helps for the remainder of the straight. It's just every little bit of fuel saving you do will help you out. You can see I've managed to build myself up a nice cushion now from P3, and that helps me out, because if he's on the same strategy as me, he's not going to be able to use my slipstream. So I really wanted to try and keep him out of my slipstream as much as possible at this stage. The laps have been consistent at 58.1, 58.1 and a 58.2 I think it's been. So just trying to keep it nice and smooth. I could have gone for a 56, probably a 56 1 or 2 or something like that with if I went really aggressive in the race, you know, by pitting. But it's, you know, doing that isn't going to win you the race sometimes. Sometimes it's best just to look after your tyres, look after the fuel, save that fuel, and just be really disciplined and get yourself to the end of the race with the shortest, the least amount of effort, really, because driving like this is easier in general. It's easier to drive smooth. You know, using fuel mixture 2, you'll find that you can brake into the corners a little bit easier. You can brake, you know, on your marks a little bit better. You tend to make less errors because you're not traveling as fast. And that's why it's a good strategy as well if you're in, you know, some of the lower down tiers, because if you're doing this strategy and people are battling away with you, they think you're going to pit, but you're not, and you just stay out and you've you're going to gain yourself about 10 to 15 seconds on cars, and then you can just drive nice and smooth on your own for the remaining 4 or 5 laps. And it's an easy win sometimes, especially in the lower ranks where it can get a bit messy as well. It can also get you out of a bad situation where it looks like you're going to come away with losing driver rating if you go through this strategy. Even if it's not going that well in the race, say you're down in P12 or 13, you've got P1 that's 10 seconds ahead of you, you could jump P1 in the pits, and then even if he passes you, you end up with a top 3. You've managed to claw that back with the strategy that I'm trying to show you in this race. So again, using that one mixture down the straights, try to use one mixture as much as possible, but obviously changing gear very early. You can see also going into that fuel mixture 2, always going into fuel mixture 2 for this final corner. It just helps the front end turn in that little bit more, gives you the traction through the corner, get on the power, then back into one mixture, and then back into that short shifting. You see how I'm really being disciplined with the short shifting. As you can see there, P1 pits with just 12% fuel, and look, I've got well over 30% fuel, so that's how you can see the advantage of this car. And obviously his tyres would have been starting to go as well, so he's had to change his tyres. So going into fuel mixture 3 for the end of this straight, again not as drastic as I was doing, because I can see that my fuel is in really good, it's not in need to do any like drastic fuel saving. I went in a little bit deep on that corner, I got a bit distracted and lost about half a second, as you've seen there. I think as I was going through the corner, I tried to change the fuel mixture. I just got a little bit distracted with my brake marker, but I wasn't too worried at this stage. I could see obviously the driver behind, if he wants to get in my slipstream, he's gonna have to use his fuel up. So I go into fuel mixture 2 for this chicane again. You see, it's just a lot of going into fuel mixture 2 and 3 for the corners, and then 1 and short shifting. That's pretty much how I optimised it for my second race. Whether I'd be a little bit more aggressive on the end of straights for another run, maybe use one mixture a little bit more aggressive down the straights, and then go into 6, 2/3 of the way down the straights. You can see there, one of the Veyrons behind me ran really wide onto the gravel, but just about got away with it and didn't lose too much time. But I'm managing to pull away again now from P2. I wasn't sure if he was going to pit or not, or if he was going to stay out and go for the same strategy as me. I really had no idea. It looks like one of the guys who was in this race with me had pitted. I think it was the driver who was in 5th place. He pitted, and now I've just got to be careful of the Renault obviously coming through. But I was just keeping an eye on that on the left hand side, seeing if he overtook P3, then I knew that I might need to push a little bit hard, because I've got a 2-second lead to P2 and then a bit of a gap to P3. But you can see the Megane in the distance there, he's quite a way back, and we've only got 2 laps to go, and the laps have been reasonably consistent. They've all been in the 158, even with the tyre wear kicking in now, and obviously having to keep that fuel saving going. I'm not losing massive amounts again at 1:58.9, and that was a scruffy lap as well, because I made that massive error going into turn 1 where I braked too late. But I've managed to get that lead back over 2 seconds again. So just got to keep this consistent and disciplined approach to the driving, trying to brake a little bit early, but again going into that corner too deep, and I made a few errors on that corner. That is a corner that was really catching me out, and I think it's because as the tyre wear kicks in, you just need to brake a little bit earlier. So from about lap 4 or 5 onwards, just start short, lengthening your braking distance so that you can brake a little bit earlier, just to give yourself the ability to get into that corner. I think I sorted it out for the final lap, but I didn't lose a massive amount of time, as it looked like the drivers behind were also making a very similar error going into that corner by braking too late. As soon as they come out of the corner, I gained time again, so probably they were doing the exact same thing where the tyre wear was kicking in and it was affecting them. But you can see going through that sector, I still managed to go through on an okay delta, so not losing a massive amount of time, and got the gap over 3 seconds now, so just trying to keep it consistent. And I'm really confused why a lot of other people wasn't going for this way of driving. You can see the both cars behind me there in the top right hand corner, you would have seen going onto the gravel, trying to push really hard. Obviously they're having a battle, and this is just helping me just keep it smooth and pull away. So you can see myself in fuel mixture 2. I can still see that the Megane in P4 has not got past P3, and that's pretty much, at this point I kind of knew that I would have the race won, because there's no way he's going to be able to gain 4 or 5 seconds on me on the final lap, because I still feel like the car can produce a late 57 or an early 58 if I really want it to, but there's no need to push it too hard at this stage. Braking nice and early for the final corner, keeping the car as tight as you can. Obviously the tyres are starting to understeer a bit with this car now, because obviously I haven't pitted and I haven't changed the tyres, but there's still plenty of grip in the car. So going into one mixture now, you can see the fuel on 1.1. As we go over the line, it should go down to about 1 pretty much dead on 1 lap of fuel. You can see they're still 1.1. So I've actually done a really good job with the fuel. I've just gone down to 1 lap of fuel left now, and we've just got short of 1 lap. So judged it pretty much to perfection. So just got to keep this fuel saving going for this final lap. You can see this time brake that a little bit earlier because I started to get on. I realised that I had to brake that a little bit earlier with the tyre wear. Really hooked the corner up and managed to increase the gap to 3.5 seconds now. And just got to keep it clean and tidy for this final lap. And it's a nice easy win. And doing this strategy also will definitely help you out in the lower ranks, purely because it's going to get your rating so much higher, because my guess is a lot of the drivers won't be doing this in the lower ratings. I'm not too sure. Let me know in the comments if you've seen a lot of people doing it in the lower ratings, but a lot of people in the lower ratings will probably try and just drive aggressively and pit. But this is the easier way to do it, because you don't have to drive as aggressive, so it's easier to keep it consistent. So if you do this, you should be able to get your driver rating up a fair amount today if you just do this for the remaining few hours, if you can get on, that is. I did want to get these videos out earlier today, but I wasn't able to do it. But at least it's out for the final few hours, and when it's on at this track again, this car is always going to probably be one of the best cars at this track, so I'm sure it will come in handy the next time this race is at this track. As you can see, going through this corner for the final time, and again I've gone through on a personal best, so it does show you that, you know, even driving smoothly and saving the fuel, the tyres are still producing the grip, and that is one reason why this car is able to run this. You know, the Megane cannot do it because it's front wheel drive, and then front wheels just totally, they just go and they just don't provide the grip you need, and it's just not a strategy. Also the fuel, you'd have to be short shifting so much with the Megane, it would be very slow and wouldn't be competitive, whereas this Bugatti, with the power it's got, you're able to short shift in the gears and still get, you know, through the race without really losing too much lap time. As we go over the line, final lap, and it's back into a very low 58, a 58.3, so real consistent driving. And that's what I was saying, it's very easy to drive consistent when you're doing that fuel saving. And I will say that with the force feedback change that I've made to my settings after another not so great race in the FIA race, I feel like it's really helping me out, and I'm really looking forward to getting used to it more, because you can feel, you know, with a bit more force feedback in your steering wheel, you can really feel the car losing grip, and you can feel the edge of the grip a lot more than what I had before. And I think that hopefully I can start getting back on a closer playing ground to some of the drivers that on other games I was either faster than or equal to. I don't think I'm going to be on TRL Lightning's pace by any means, but hopefully I can just improve by a couple of attempts, and it might be the couple of attempts that I just need to really bump up a bit. And anyway, hopefully season 2 will be a bit better. I'll have the final race in the FIA season out tomorrow, hopefully in the night time. I also want to get the Brands Hatch Group 4 guide done before the race, but a whole day before, for obviously the people who are in Australia and Asia that don't do that can't. I think their race is a lot, you know, something like 12 to 20, you know, 18 hours before our races. So if I get them done early, at least it will help them drivers out as well. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it helps you out. Let me know in the comment section if using this strategy that I'm showing you now has helped you out in the race, if it's got you any more, you know, good results, or if it's help, you know, if you found it difficult. Let me know how, and I'll try and give some advice. Anything I can do, I'll try and, you know, point you in the right direction. Anyway, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I do upload every single day on GT Sport, also iRacing content, so make sure you sub the channel, and don't forget to click that notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.